Good morning, children. Welcome back. Today we are going to continue with the active and the passive voice, which we started in the last class. Okay, so I told you all 6 rules that you all are supposed to follow while changing the active voice into the passive. Number 1 was subject and object are interchangeable in active and passive voice. The subject of the active voice changes into the subject in the passive voice. Likewise, only the subject changes into the object in the passive voice. The object changes into the subject in the passive voice, and the subject of the active voice changes into the object in the passive voice. Okay, number 2 is base form of the verb in the active voice changes to past participle form of the verb in the passive voice. The base form of the verb means the V1 form, that is read, play, write, changes into the V3 form like played, read, isn't it? Written. Okay, likewise, so it changes into the V3 form while changing it into the passive voice. Okay, now rule number 3, just a recap of what we did in the last class. Rule number 3 is when the object is in the plural in the active voice, then you'll have to make it into a subject in the passive voice, isn't it? So if the object is plural in the active voice, then if it is changed into passive voice, the subject, the accompanying verb also, the subject of the accompanying verb also has to be plural. Okay, subject verb agreement. Number 3 is subject verb agreement. Okay, meaning the same thing. If the object is plural in the active voice, then while changing it into the passive, the object becomes the subject, isn't it? If it's plural, then the accompanying verb also has to be in the plural. Like example that day I gave you, isn't it? I have been writing novels, isn't it? Novels are written by me, isn't it? Novels. I have been writing novels. Novels are written by me. Okay, so rule number 4 is in any case, you're not supposed to rule out the preposition that is there in the active voice. You're not supposed to rule out the preposition should not be ruled out while changing the active voice into the passive. Okay, into the passive voice. Okay, that day I gave you the example, they laughed at the poor boy, isn't it? So that is in the active. So if you'll have to change it into passive, you'll have to write the poor boy was laughed at by them. At In no case you're supposed to leave or rule out the preposition. Okay, like at, by, isn't it? To, over. These are all prepositions. So while changing it into the passive, you are not supposed to rule out the preposition. That is rule number 4. Okay, and rule number 5 is in case of transitive verbs, isn't it? Rule number 5 is in case of transitive verbs with 2 objects, isn't it? In case of transitive verbs with 2 objects, you can use either of the object in the passive voice, isn't it? Number 5 is 2 objects with transitive verb in a sentence can okay, 2 objects with a transitive verb in a sentence, either of the objects can be used in the passive voice. Okay, 2 objects with transitive verbs in a sentence, either of the object can be used in the passive voice. Meaning, I told him and story are 2 objects, so you can use either of the object. That is, a story was told to him by me, otherwise a story was told to him by me, or just wait. He was told a story by me. Okay. So there are 2 ways of writing the sentence in the passive voice if you have 2 objects. Okay, and these are the 5 rules that you'll have to. I'm sorry, it's not 6. These are the 5 rules that you have to follow while doing the active and the passive voice. Okay, so we will do active and passive voice using different tenses. Okay, so number 1 is simple present tense or present indefinite tense. Okay, simple present tense or present indefinite tense. Okay, so the structure goes like this for the active voice, isn't it? The subject has to be there. The V1 form of the verb means the base form of the verb. Okay, base form of the verb. This is the structure. This is the structure, like I make a cake. Okay, this is active voice. This is active voice. Now If you have to change it into the passive voice, the structure goes like this, okay? The structure is subject plus am, is, or are plus V3 form of the verb, means the past participle form of the verb. So if you'll have to change this, I make a cake, into passive voice, then you'll have to write a cake is made by me. Okay, it has to be in the present tense. Okay, a cake is made by me. Okay, this is the structure for changing the active voice into the passive. Okay, so this is the first one. Now second thing is present continuous tense. Look at the board carefully. Second one is present continuous tense. Present continuous tense. So in the present, since you all have already done the verbs, the tenses, you all know the structure. Okay, so the structure goes like this. Subject plus am, is, are plus ing form of, since it's a continuous tense, so ing form of the verb or the fourth form of the verb. This is the structure. They are planting some trees. Okay, they are, the example is they are planting some trees. This is the active voice, isn't it? The subject is there, or it's there, and it's no doubt there in the structure, and planting, the ing form of the verb, some trees is the object. Now if we'll have to change this one, present continuous tense, into the passive voice, then the structure goes like this. Subject plus am, is, are plus being. You'll have to add being over here while changing it into the passive voice. Being, then the V3 form of the verb, then the V3 past participle form of the verb, like some trees are planted, or some trees are planted by them. Okay, some trees are planted by them, or you can leave, you can write some trees are planted. Okay, some trees are planted by them. See, the subject, they changes into them in the passive voice, and some trees, which is the object in the active voice, becomes the new subject in the passive voice. Now this one is the passive voice. Okay, that's in the present continuous tense. Okay, now number 3 is present perfect tense. Okay, look at the board carefully, and don't worry, I'm going to send you the PDF file also as well. present perfect tense. Okay. Present perfect tense. Okay. So the structure goes like this in the active voice. Subject plus has or have, isn't it? Because you all have already done the tenses. So now you must be acquainted with the structure. So this is the structure. Okay. Now see the example. Someone has eaten. Someone has eaten my apple. Okay. This is in the active voice. And the perfect tense is has, have, had. It has to be there, isn't it? That's the rule. So if you'll have to change it into the passive voice, the structure goes like this. Subject plus has, have, plus been. Has to be there. Been and the V3 form of the verb. Okay? Like my apple has been eaten. Okay? This one is also correct. And my apple has been eaten by someone. That is also correct. By someone. This is passive voice. Okay. Now see the structure properly. My apple has been eaten is also correct. And then my apple has been eaten by someone. That is also correct. Okay. Now come to the fourth one, that is present perfect continuous tense. Present perfect continuous tense. Okay, so the structure goes like this in the active voice. Subject has to be there, okay. Has or have, it has to be there, okay. Plus been has to be there. Plus ing form of the verb, since it's a continuous tense. You can call this one the fourth form also, or the ing form of the verb. Okay, so the sentence goes like this. Sophia has been playing violin. Okay, violin. Okay, Sophia has been playing violin. See the structure. Sophia is there, the subject, has is there, been is there, and playing the object. The ing form of the verb, and violin is the object over there. Okay, so if you have to change it into passive, then the structure goes like this. The subject has to be there, okay. Have or it has to be there. Okay. Plus this been also has to be there. And then being. Then after being, you'll have to add being in the passive voice. And then the V3 form of the verb. V3 plus the V3 form of the verb. That is the past participle form of the verb. So, the sentence goes like this. The sentence goes like this. Violin has being played by Sophia. Okay, Sophia. Violin has been being played by Sophia. But these are only the rules of grammar, and in normal uses and all, we hardly use these kind of sentences. Like violin has been being played by Sophia. It's very, very rare. Though it's there in the rules of grammar, though it's there in grammar, but we hardly use these kind of sentences. These are very, very rare. Okay, you'll have to understand these kind of sentences are very, very rare. It sounds quite odd. That is the reason in normal, in practical uses, it does not have any validity. We don't use these kind of sentences very often, but no doubt it's there in the rules of grammar. Okay, so this much for today. In the next class, I'll continue with the past and the future tenses. Okay, thank you.